one. Welcome back into another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast. Again, I'm your host, Corey Kinnan, back alongside James Foster, No Flags Film on Twitter for those who want to follow along with all the work that he's doing. We are going to do a little Daft or Draft today, break up the scouting report of, monotony of tight ends here to do a little hot takey action here. We got 4 questions, all pretty much surrounding draft positioning and number of players drafted at a certain position, stuff like that. So a little more standard than usual, but they're hot takey nonetheless for us to buy or sell. Before we dive into that, though, James, how are we doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, man. Writing a bunch of like blurbs, summaries on day 3 quarterback prospects, and trying to come up everything with scouting reports is just trying to come up with different ways of saying the same thing. So I've written like 5 different paragraphs in the last hour that basically amount to "this guy sucks." So.
Yeah, I dropped my QB rankings piece last week, and I wrote up 17 different quarterbacks, and it's like really after 5, it's like I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. So I totally get it. Let's dive in here to some Daft or Draft action. So the first one here, we're gonna come to my city here, Columbus, Ohio, where I am currently sitting in my seat and recording this podcast. I should also say that James came up with 3 of these questions, and I came up with one of them. This is a James question here, or James Daft or Draft, I should say. James, Daft or Draft? By the time the 2026 NFL Draft rolls around, Sonny Styles will be the first Ohio State player drafted.
Yeah, so this is kind of a 2-part take because it's sort of anti Caleb Downs and pro Sonny Styles. But I'm going to draft it. I mean, I think I was watching. It really has more to do though with me being like absurdly high on Sonny Styles. He's a player where like I did my a video breaking down my rankings like 1 through 100. I think I had Sonny Styles ranked like 32nd or something, and recorded the video. I'm editing it and I'm loading in all the clips and like just rewatching his tape to make the cut up. I was like, wait, I'm way too low on him still. So I've got him up in the early 20s. I've got Caleb Downs at 18. They're right neck and neck in terms of my grades. But I'm going to draft it because I think Sonny Styles is kind of like, what if Isaiah Simmons was given like a clean positional fit from the start and like they knew how to use him. You see the pass rushing versatility, still needs to improve his awareness and coverage, but as a converted safety, like some of the things he's able to do as far as coverage range, and then a lot better shedding blocks and playing through contact than I expected. Like when I first watched him, I think if he kind of cuts down his missed tackle rate a little bit, to me, he's an easy first round pick. And like with Caleb Downs, I guess you can kind of give your thoughts on there. I think he's a really good, solid player. I just don't see the versatility. I don't think he's a great athlete. Maybe with like all the DBs that Ohio State lost and a new defensive coordinator coming in, maybe he's, playing more man coverage, playing more single high, and he's able to execute that at a high level. And he raises his grade for me. But at this point, I see him as kind of like a late first, early second type of guy.
Yeah, Dalton and I have talked about Caleb Downs a lot on this podcast, and I've kind of landed on like kind of the same thing. Like he is a good to great player. He is not a blue chip player, in my opinion.
Right.
Like he's not going to get that blue chip grade out of me. Mainly because I do think when he is an off man, like he can get turned and burned pretty badly. I think he's great in the box. I think he's awesome in robber situations, and I think he's awesome in like curl 2 flats and even a little bit of 2 high situations. He can get there as well. But yeah, there's a definite lack of single high range and a little bit like some pretty big discomfort in man coverage from Caleb Downs. Again, I still think he's a good to great player, but where do good to great players get drafted? Do I think he's a Kyle Hamilton level prospect? No, and Kyle Hamilton went 12th. Like Kyle Hamilton was the best player in that draft class, in my opinion. That 2023 draft class. And he went he didn't even make it in the top 10. The last safety we've seen taken in the top 10 was Jamal Adams. And I
Yeah.
think that might scare some teams off from taking a guy where I think Caleb Downs is a little Jamal Adams-y, where like he's best when his front foot is stepping forward and not into a back pedal. So like I think we could see a similar situation to that, but I think I think we're getting scared off maybe a little bit of safeties high, and I think that some of it's valid because I kind of do think that safeties are more utility players. Like when you look at the variety of roles that safeties can play, like look at Kalen Bullock in Houston. Went in the second round, and people are like, "Well, he can't tackle." Well, no, he can't tackle, but he's got hella range, and they're asking him to play single high. Like he's your last case scenario. You want him to maybe he can tackles anyway. So like,
Right.
so there's some things like that you have to play into consideration too. So in my opinion, unless a safety can check 3 boxes, tackling in the box, range over the top, and some man goal, like I can't give you that blue chip grade. And I think Caleb Downs checks 2 of those boxes, 1.5 of those boxes. So like again, a good to great player. Whereas I think we're starting to see a little renaissance on the linebacker position, a little bit. And you know, I think Jahad Campbell would have gone much higher than he did this past season if the medicals weren't
Yeah.
as bad as they were. And again, last year was a little bit of an underwhelming linebacker class outside of Jahad Campbell as well. So that's like where you could point to last year and say, like, well, then how come only one went in the first round and he was the last pick of the first round? But like we saw Jack Campbell go high. We've seen guys go high in the past, and as teams are starting to run the ball more, Ashton Genty goes top 5, 2 running backs taken in the top 15 in 2023. So like we're starting to see teams kind of return to, well, we kind of need to start taking pressures off of our young quarterbacks because our young quarterbacks aren't very good because we don't give them time and they come up from the college level after 15 career starts. And there's a lot that plays into it, more than just that as well. And a lot goes back to eliminating explosives in a too high structure as well, to where like, okay, we're just going to go back to running the football then. But all that to leading to say like, we're going to see a little bit more of a renaissance on linebackers. And I mean, Sonny Styles is a legitimate 6'3", 235. Like he's a converted safety, sure.
Oh,
But
he's 6'4.5".
yeah, 6'4.5", 235. Like he's a big dude and he's athletic. What I will say is I wish that Ohio State would just stack him and let him play linebacker. They still
Yeah.
do this thing where like against Michigan, Colson Loveland was their best playmaker and their corners weren't very good. So they stuck Sonny Styles on Colson Loveland and let him follow him through the slot and in line and all over the field. It's like just stack him and let him play linebacker.
Right.
So I want him to see them do that a little bit more this next season. But I definitely think that we could be talking about Sonny Styles the same way that we were talking about Jahad Campbell pre-medical, where we found out like, oh, actually he's got a bad knee and a bad shoulder. I think we could be talking about Sonny Styles in that same regard because I think they're the same kind of athlete. I think Sonny Styles even has the frame to do some of the off the edge stuff that Jahad Campbell did at Alabama last year. I know there's some people in Columbus that think he should be rushing the passer more, for a converted safety, which is
You
wild.
see that cross chop sack against Cameron Williams in the
Yeah,
playoffs?
yeah. And
That was funny.
so I think we could be talking about Sonny. So I'm gonna, man, I'm gonna draft it too. That's gonna sound super hot takey from both of us, but I guess that's the purpose of this episode. But like, literally the sky is the limit for Sonny Styles as a linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would take it like even odds, but if you're giving me some odds,
On face value, yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to some offensive tackles here. After draft, 4 offensive tackles will go top 20.
Do you want to start since I started the last one?
Yeah, I'm gonna look at this real fast. 4. That happened last time that happened was 2020, right? When we had Thomas, Wills, Wirfs, Becton.
Yeah, so I was originally gonna say like they tie the number of offensive tackles that got taken there, but I think it was like, I mean, it was a ton. I looked it up. There was basically no chance of that happening. So I just said 4 in the top 20.
So I'm gonna count this out loud. I don't think Isaiah World is there yet, but I think he can get there developmentally. I've been told by people at Oregon that they're higher on Isaiah World than they were on Josh Connerly.
I'm definitely higher on World than I was on Connerly, heading into this year.
Yeah. I think Proctor's got to lose a little bit of weight and show some conditioning gall, because like Proctor's the rare case for me. It's like I watched the first 20 plays of that guy's tape and like, yeah, this guy's an easy money top 5 player in this class, and then you watch the fourth quarter of that same game and you're like, this is not the same player at all, at all. So I think Proctor's got to figure out something conditioning wise, but his good is excellent. Like the foot speed at even 369, and I would bet he's every bit of that 369 that he's listed at. Like his foot speed of that 369 is excellent. Spencer Fano's the easy one for me. I'm not as high on Lomu. 4 in the top 20. Moa Noah. Where do you sit out with Moa Noah? I kind of think that Ryan and I talked about it. Like I kind of think he's better fit to play inside at guard, but it wouldn't be egregious
Is
for
it
him to play
pronounced with
tackle.
an N?
It is. It is. I
Okay.
asked one of my Miami diehard friends, and he's like, "Yeah, it's Moa Noah." I was like, "Okay, okay."
Yeah, so he's my OT5. He's still a top 20 player for me, but I just thought the anchor was really soft for 330 pounds and surprisingly good pocket range, but then all of that foot speed disappeared when he gets hit with an inside counter. So it's kind of like 2 of the 3 ways of beating him. He's kind of easy work. But like still really, skilled, polished hand usage, and I think great movement skills for his size.
Yeah, it wouldn't be egregious if he went top 20. I'm gonna Daft it. No, man, 4. No, I'm gonna draft it because again, there aren't 40 good offensive tackles in the NFL, and there needs to be 64 good offensive tackles in the NFL, right? Like bare minimum. That's what we're talking about. And there aren't 40 good ones. And so we're going to keep seeing that position prioritized, just like we've seen in the past. So if you tell me 4 of Fano, Proctor, Moa Noah, World, I think Lomu has the skills, the athleticism and skill set to make a leap. He's not there yet. 4 of that 5. Yeah, I think I can get on board with 4 of the 5. And who knows, we might see a leap out of a guy like Charles Jagusa at Notre Dame. Like there are guys who like have talent to take a leap as well. So I'll draft it. That 4 will go top 20. Yeah.
Yeah, I was originally thinking I was going to Daft this, but I actually probably will draft it for a few reasons. First of all, I've got 4 offensive tackles in my top 11. So in order, I've got Caleb Lomu at 6, Caden Proctor at 7, Spencer Fano at 10, Isaiah World at 11. Then I've got Mao Noah at 17. So like that's a really good selection right there. And then I look at the rest of the class, and obviously we can't say much about like the overall first round talent this far out, but I feel very similarly about this class as I did about last year's class in the summer, as far as just a lack of blue chip talent at premium positions. Quarterbacks will be a huge domino that could take up some of those spots, but even if Caden Proctor is still kind of like a rough around the edges prospect, he might go, 15, and like teams might be more willing to overlook Fano's measurables and stuff. And then like there's even Xavier Chaplin, who I have a 5th round grade on, but apparently people like him. Maybe he takes a step and goes like 30th or something. So yeah, I'm going to draft for this.
Yeah. I mean,
reluctantly.
Right. Like I think as long as a guy has some tools, teams are going to feel like they can make the most out of that. They can make the most. Like even there's the kid from Arizona State. I don't know, Max. I can't even think to pronounce his last name right now. The right tackle at Arizona State. He's got really good tools. He's a JUCO kid, fifth year guy, but really toolsy as well. So like even if they think like this guy's got foot speed, this guy's got tools, like I could work with that. Like there are guys that could rise in this class for sure. All right. This one's the next. We're moving to the edge group here. Texas Tech edge, David Bailey, and Oklahoma edge, R. Mason Thomas, both go in the top 50. Daft or draft.
So yeah, this was my third one, and I guess I'm going to draft all 3 of mine. Really, with this one, it comes down to kind of 2 points. I guess the first one is that they are really good prospects that I like a lot. They're kind of in a similar mold where I think they're both like pure DPRs. David Bailey, especially, I mean, he's such a bad run defender that you can't even really find tape of him defending the run because they don't let him like, be at the point of attack or have to play blocks. But like he's an insanely good speed rusher. And then R. Mason Thomas, just get off bend for days. When the impetus for coming up with this one is the success of Chop Robinson. As somebody that I think coming out of college was less technically advanced than both of these guys are. I think has similar movement skills and is similarly deficient as a run defender. I think if you just got insane juice off the edge, especially with some recency bias, teams are going to be willing to take a swing on that on day 2.
Yeah. The thing with Chop Robinson compared to these guys, Chop Robinson had really good speed to power too, like some pretty decent speed to power.
Yeah.
And Chop Robinson's arms, Chop Robinson's arms are also 32.5, which is still 14th percentile. R. Mason Thomas's are like 31.
Yeah, he's sub 32.
I love R. Mason Thomas. Some of his best tape is like eye pop. Like, go look at what he did to Will Campbell in that LSU game. Will Campbell, 4th overall pick. Will Campbell, he makes Will Campbell look awful on a couple of those reps in that game. So R. Mason Thomas's like bend and explosiveness and get off is excellent. Excellent. But when I look at, and I've mentioned this on this podcast quite a bit, the last 2 defensive rookie of the year players are Will Anderson and Jared Verse. Both fairly long levered dudes who can work through the chest of a guy across from them. And I think the ability to convert speed to power is almost a non-negotiable. And again, we're not talking about first-round picks. The Daft draft here is top 50. But we're talking about a guy with 31-inch arms whose rushing profile is predominantly bend outside shoulder, not through the chest. That's where I get a little bit of pause on both of these guys, to be honest. David Bailey's obviously got a better frame to work with, but so I'm going to Daft it. I do think R. Mason Thomas goes to day 2. Top 50 though.
More 50 to 100 though.
More 50 to 100. Yeah, probably like 65 to 90 is kind of what I would probably.
I guess the reason I would still draft it is because I don't think I was as high on Chop Robinson's speed to power coming out as you. Like I thought that was a real weakness in college, and like it was better than I expected in the NFL, but it was only really effective against like the Patriots tackles and like the worst tackles that he faced. I don't know. I definitely agree with your kind of philosophy of just prioritizing power is kind of like the first non-negotiable though. So I don't know if I would take them like early top 50, although, at this point, early in the season, they're in my top 30. So I guess I would now, but I'm still going to draft it.
Okay. I love it. I love the gall. I love the risk associated with that. All right, last one here, and then we're going to get out of here. Probably a little bit of a shorter episode today, but that's okay. It's a Daft draft. They're meant to be fun, short, dopamine bursts. This one's going to be a quarterback. We can't leave without a little bit of quarterback discussion, mainly because I don't even think I've talked about quarterbacks with James on a podcast yet. So gives us a little opportunity to talk about it. Daft draft here, James. A QB not heavily discussed in summer scouting will rise to the top and be the first quarterback off the board, similar to 2022 and 2020. Now, this comes with the preface that like 2022 and 2020 were not similar classes in terms of quarterbacks, because 2020 had 3 go in the top 10, 5 go in the top 50, and all of them have become successful NFL starters. Compared to 2022, where 1 was taken in the first round, it was Kenny Pickett, and he's on his 3rd team in 4 years. But similar in the way that nobody had Kenny Pickett as 2022 summer scouting quarterback 1, and Joe Burrow had day 3 grades in 2020, coming into the 2020 season. and elevated himself all the way to the top pick of the draft. So in that sense, none of these quarterbacks that we're heavily discussing as a QB1 option will rise to and be the first quarterback taken in 2026.
So if we're saying like first round pick, I might consider buying. But if we're saying first quarterback selected, I'm gonna have to Daft it. So I guess it depends on what the kind of like what is heavily discussed in summer scouting mean. Like I would think outside of the consensus top 200 maybe. So then you're looking at guys like Josh Hoover and John Mateer. If you're including them, like I could see them being first round picks, but I don't see either of them as being first overall picks unless the entire quarterback class just tanks. Dante Moore potentially. I've never seen him play. Man, yeah, I'm gonna Daft it. Although, I could see. Yeah, no, I'm gonna Daft it.
I think I am too, mainly because these young guys just have no incentive to come out. So it's got to be somebody who like this is their third season as a starter, or who is like a redshirt junior, redshirt senior, out of eligibility, coming out of nowhere. Like, do I think Carson Beck is going to come back and be where people thought he would be last year? No, absolutely not. I think he's an awful scheme fit with Mario Cristobal, and I just don't think he gets it. Like the young guys would be Aiden Childs,
Yeah, that's
Nico
the first guy I was
Iamaleava, Sam Levitt. Those would be the three probably that we're talking, the 20-year-olds that we're talking about here, right? Nico maybe because he does have the 5-star pedigree. He is being teamed up now with Tino Sunseri, who has a really good track record with quarterbacks. The tools are still wildly there, but he has no response to pressure, and his ball placement is all over the map.
His tape looks awesome until you see where the ball ends up.
Yes. But if they figure out something mechanically where he's actually running, I mean, it's still if Sunseri's running the same offense that Cignetti has run everywhere that he's gone, James Madison, Indiana, where he's been with Cignetti, it's still going to be a lot of RPOs, but at least there are backside digs, there are over the middle throws to be found, things like that. Like if Nico can look confident doing that kind of stuff, we're going to start talking about Nico Iamaleava more. Like again, like that's just going to. But again, he's 19. Sam Levitt's 19. Aiden Childs is 19. Lenora Sellers is 19. Like these guys are all 19. They'll all be 20 by the end of the season still. So like they don't have incentive to come out unless they do explode. What court like Taylon Green? Do I think that's going to happen? No. Like Taylon Green has maybe the worst response to pressure of any quarterback that I watched this summer. Like he sees 3-man fronts close in on him and he's out the door. So I don't think it's that. John Mateer potentially, like that is a real one if he can figure out some way to read out Y cross consistently and stand in structure and throw the football. Josh Hoover the same. Josh Hoover's got the tools. That might be the guy that like if there is one, you maybe bet on Josh Hoover because the arm is live. He is a 4th year. He is entering his second and a half season as a starter in Fort Worth. So like he kind of checks some boxes. So if there's one to bet on, it might be Josh Hoover. But outside of that, man, like I don't think Kevin Jennings has NFL tools. Dante Moore, you mentioned. I know there's a decent amount of Avery Johnson love out there. I haven't watched a lick of Avery Johnson. I didn't rank Avery Johnson, but he's athletic as hell and he's tall and he's got a pretty good arm. Working with Colin Klein. That's not true. He's at Texas A&M. But like if he takes a step running a gap power oriented under center kind of like NFL-ish offense, like maybe Avery Johnson, like that's a long shot. But I'm gonna Daft it too because like I just hypotheticalized 15 different quarterbacks and don't feel good about any of them. So
yeah, and I mean you made the key point earlier, which is that nowadays, like when you watch a guy like Nico or Aiden Childs, I get a couple games in and I'm like, yeah, I'm still gonna finish this, but I'm really wasting my time watching them because if they aren't like lottery pick grades, they're just gonna like why would they not come
they're just
back
gonna
to
go make
school?
$6 million next year. Yeah.
Like, make more money and then develop your draft stock to make more money in the future. So it's like, yeah, I mean, if Nico fixes his deep ball, I think he can be a quality like point and shoot quarterback at the college level. And, like you said, transitioning to a more pro style scheme will definitely make the evaluation cleaner, but there's nothing on his tape that indicates he's ready to take on a bigger challenge. I mean, he double clutches like RPO slants.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. I don't really see it until like ways in the future. Shiles is the guy that gets me really excited. But again, it comes back to like, he's got to fix so many things if he's going to be in this year's class. So yeah, to me, of the guys I've watched, because I haven't watched Mateer, Avery Johnson, like really most of those guys you mentioned, like Josh Hoover's the only one I watched. If he gets a little bit more accurate, I could see teams really liking him. Because I mean, he gets to his backside read about as often as anyone besides Nussmeier that I watched, and stand tall in the pocket, take a hit. Teams will like that. It's just I still think for a quarterback of his size, you would need the rest of the class to kind of bottom out as well. So yeah, I'm going to Daft that.
Yeah, Hoover's got that like 2021 Spencer Rattler kind of vibe to him. To me, it was like, why are you drifting to your right against a 3-man front right now? Like, what? Stand in there, man, and throw the backside dig. You know what to find it. Just stand in there and throw it. I think it's the Baylor game. It's just like every time, like he senses any integrity of his pocket, even against like 3-4-man fronts, it's like, oh, there he goes to his right again. Oh, there he goes to his right again. Oh, there he goes to his right again.
I didn't notice that as much on the rest of his tape, but
yeah.
I'll have to look out for that.
Yeah, the Baylor game, it's pretty consistent, but yeah. All right, man. That turned out to be a normal sized episode. We discoursed. We discoursed for sure. James, you launched your YouTube video breaking down the entire your Wikipedia page of NFL draft prospects on YouTube there.
Yep.
What else are you working on right now that you got for the people?
Right now, I'm doing some positional rankings articles for Wide Left, starting with quarterbacks. So I'll have my dueling quarterback rankings out there to compete with Corey. But yeah, then probably going to do anything to avoid talking about running backs. So probably go to receivers next.
Love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I'm probably gonna write up my corners now that we did the corner podcast. Probably write up my tight ends next week. Get my rankings out there as well. Board's starting to fill out here a little bit. I like it. We will be back talking about tight ends again tomorrow. We've got six or seven more of like the smaller, lower level names, not the 5 that we talked about in yesterday's podcast. But until then, this is Corey Kinnan, and I'm joined by James Foster again, and this has been another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast.